All right, everyone, welcome back to the Business Blast podcast. Today, I have with us Shiny Unsal. She is a mind expansion strategist, and I'll dive right into the first question, Shiny. So the first one I have for you is, what's the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Tyler, thank you for inviting me to your show. First of all, it is such a pleasure. And here is my first answer. The best story from my life that can give anybody a valuable message is losing my father on a heart attack unexpectedly when I returned from United States to get married and start a new life back in Istanbul. It was 2006. So it was my first night back in Istanbul, Turkey. And I was so excited to start a new life, get married. Everything was going to be fresh. And boom, I got the phone call. So my mom just called me to give me the news that my father couldn't make it. And I know it is a very tragic story I'm sharing, but in these moments, we really sit down and question everything. And the message that I received from losing my father was, what is the meaning of my life? Like, why do we even live? Why do we even exist? If one day, if we're going to disappear, why do we even just, live? What is the purpose? So it made me go really, really deep. And 12 years later, after that, here I am. I invested in my questions. I searched for my answers. I went to trainings, I read books, I went to seminars, I worked on myself, and I got my answers. And the valuable message I want to give everyone is that, we just go on with our daily lives and we just do everything automatically. Sometimes we don't really think about what it means. But I am inviting everybody to question everything that they do, to create the best possible meaning ever, because one day it's going to end. One day we're just going to disappear. So clock is ticking. So it is our responsibility to make the most of what we have here and to create the most awesomest positive meaning about our life. My meaning that I created for myself was that I was going to be the happiest person alive, so that if I am happy, I can make others happy, and I can also teach them how to be happy. And that's why with this new with this new meaning of life, I went ahead and started a new journey. And back in 2011, I started my training and coaching business, Believe in You, and I invite people to question their limiting beliefs, what they do, how they do it, what they say, how they go on with their conversations, with their interpersonal relationships, how they make decisions, like how they use their mind. So that's why I ended up becoming a mind expansion strategist, because my goal is to kind of wake people up and make their mind shine with these aha moments that I call neuroshine moments. And to me, it has been the most valuable message ever, Tyler.
And hey, we're going to get along very well, because I go with that as well, as happy is number one. So I love hearing that. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Yeah.
The second question is, what's the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
That's a very awesome question. Well, my expertise and industry is self-improvement, personal development, being your better version, pushing yourself to do better, raise your standards, right? So that's my expertise and that's my industry. My real expertise, specific expertise, is something called neuro-linguistic programming. I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to this show, they are familiar with neuro-linguistic programming. If not, I'll explain what it is. It is the number one technology of the mind that was created back in the 1970s by Dr. Richard Bandler and John Grinder. And their goal was to study human behaviors and human communication and to create a formula behind human communication and human behavior. So since everything is coming from the mind, so if you ever want to understand your behaviors and your communications, then you need to study the mind. And that is my expertise. Human mind is my expertise. And the most valuable piece of information everybody has to know about their mind is that there is a specific way that your mind works. Your mind does automatic filtering. Your mind goes through these 5 automatic filters that you don't even realize. And I'm going to share it with you right now. 1, your mind compare what you are learning from the outside world, what you already have in your inside world, which is your mental world. That's a comparison. That's the first one. Number 2, your mind also deletes the unnecessary information because we receive about 20 million bits of information every second, and that is a lot. It's out of our capacity. Our capacity, actually, Tyler, is about like 5 or 9 bits of information at any point. So imagine what kind of deletion we are going through out of 20 million, right?
Yeah.
So
it is laughable.
That's crazy to know. And I want everybody to know this, okay? We delete information. Sometimes the most important information is deleted. And third, after comparing and deleting information, the mind also does distortion. And distortion is done by putting our values, our beliefs, our experiences, what we think about people, what we think about life, what is our goal, how we do things, our personality, characteristic traits. So all of these things, because it is specific to every single human being, everybody does their own distortion in their own specific way. And that's exactly why we end up misunderstanding each other, misinterpreting the world, and misbehaving. That is exactly why, everybody, distortion. So number 4 is generalization. After comparing, deleting, and distorting, the mind goes ahead and says, hey, I need to put these things in order. I need to organize them. So let me just, categorize and let me just generalize so that, whenever I need something about this specific topic, I know how to access it. So that's why we generalize information. The mind does generalization under every single topic. Name it. If I ask you about what is love, you're going to tell me what love is. If I ask you about what is life, you're going to tell me what life is. And that is going to be your own mental file in your own mental world. And it is going to be different for Joes and Vanessas and Teresas out there. So everybody has their own explanations, has their own mental files because of these comparison, deletion, distortion, and generalization that is going on in the mind. And number 5 is the mind, after going through these 4 processes, it ends up with creating what I call the assumption. So the assumptions are what we believe to be true, but they're only true for ourselves. So if I know that people are trustworthy, people are amazing creators, and human beings are the best in the world, it is totally my belief. And I know that people are going to disagree with me because they are not going to think exactly the way I think, because these are all assumptions based on our beliefs, our memories, what we have, what we know. It's such a big internal world that our assumptions are making us limit our world. And that's why I also want to mention I have this technique that I created called assumption busting. Like Ghostbusters, yeah. Right? So we are busting assumptions because that is the only way to get out of your mind and to get into another mind so that you understand what's going on in that mental world, not only yours. So that, to me, when you ask me the most valuable piece of information in my expertise, that's it. That is the most valuable, because you can actually go on and study about this for the rest of your life, this is what I'm doing. I'm studying the mind, and I am committed to this. I'm dedicated, and I am going to share this valuable piece of information, and I'm going to invite everyone. Please, everyone, study how your mind works.
Incredible. What's your best piece of overall business advice?
My best piece of overall business advice. Business is a spiritual game. So for that reason, my advice is going to be, again, inviting people to go study who they are and build their business around their identity, around who they are. Because at the end of the day, if you do a business just to make money, money is a part of the big puzzle, just one piece of the big puzzle. It's never going to be enough. So if you go ahead and make a lot of money, but if you find yourself miserable, then we can talk because you haven't really done the job. You haven't been digging deep enough to find your real juice and real uniqueness about yourself for who you truly are. And if that's the case, then you're not going to be successful and fulfilled at the same time. So going back to my answer, as I think business is a spiritual game, it is success plus fulfillment. And for that reason, go ahead and study success and both fulfillment, which means start with yourself, dig within your soul.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
My young self, like 5-year-old or 4-year-old, something like that. I'm young.
Maybe, or it could be 4 or 5 seems a little too, maybe if you can remember your thoughts, then I feel like my last memories are maybe like 8 or 9, but it's up to you.
Well, even on my website, you're going to see I have a picture of me when I was 5.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, do that.
Yeah. So because I am telling everyone that I'm so happy because I made my 5-year-old version happy. My 5-year-old inside of me wants to play. I'm sure you're going to relate to that, right, Tyler?
Yes, 100%.
Right? That's why you go and you tell the world, hey, you begin with fun and you end with fun. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's exactly what I do because I digged within my soul and I found this little girl, 5-year version of me. So she wanted to play. She wanted to have fun. She wanted to, look at the world at this wonderful game. And I was able to find her inside of me and talk to her already and made her happy. And if you're asking what would be my piece of advice that I gave it to her, I said, stay alive. Yeah, that little fun attitude, that little life is a beautiful, fun game. And let's have fun. Let's party. Let's make everything fun. Let's bring the joy. Let's be the joy. So, and that's what I told her. And then she answered me and she said, oh, I don't know who else to be.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
So this ties along with it then, but in your opinion, what's the key to happiness?
Knowing yourself. Oh my gosh. I am so big about the mind and the soul, as you can tell by now. So my key to happiness is really understanding who you are, because you design the world around you, around yourself, around your identity. And it starts with knowing who that is and what that is. To me, when I realized that I was a spiritual being inside of me, having a physical experience rather than I was this physical creator and having a spiritual experience, no. I heard it for the first time from Dr. Deepak Chopra when I was listening to his, CDs and DVDs. I just had to pause it. I had to go back and forth so many times to understand. I really had to stop and think about it, what does he mean? And then it hit me. It was back in 2011 when I listened to the CD and he was saying we are these spiritual beings having a physical experience. I'm like, yes, that is so true. And I always believe in that. And that's even why I ended up writing my book, You Are a Star, Shine, Becoming a Galactic Leader in 5 Steps. Why I am saying galactic? Because after I heard it from Dr. Deepak Chopra, and then after I studied so much, years and years about it, I finally understood that the reason of my happiness was because I was living with my soul, living with my heart out. And I was totally looking at it as a galactic experience, meaning that I am the spiritual being. I came from the galaxies, and I know that I'm going to die one day and I'm going to go back to the galaxies again. So I am this galactic being. And this is like me floating in the quantum fields. I also, I'm big with quantum field and quantum physics, quantum mechanics, metaphysics. So that's why the mind, needs to be explained in those terms as well. So happiness, again, is about finding not only who you are, but also what you are, Tyler. It is totally so amazing to be able to see these little distinctions, what you are and who you are. A lot of people may not relate to what I'm saying. What you are is what I said earlier. You are a spiritual being. You are not a machine. You are not your body. Your soul is inside your body. And that has been a fundamental key for me to have my happiness on an everyday basis. Does that make sense? Is that a good answer?
Yes, I can tell you I relate to it 100%. Okay. And I hope the audience does as well, because I'm with you.
Okay, perfect.
The next one is, what's the best book you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from it?
Whew, see, everything is related. The best book I have ever read was back in 1996. Yes, then I was in college. And it was Neil Donald Walsh, Conversation with God. Did you read that book?
I have not read that one, actually.
Oh my God, that blew my mind. Yeah. So Neil Donald Walsh is one of those experts in the movie Secret.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
So he actually, I guess he has so many Conversation with God 1, 2, 3, and 4, I guess. I read them all. I know that I read 3, so maybe he had 3 series. But in his book, he was having a conversation with God. Whatever the term that we put God, the universe, the spirit, the higher power, whatever, the creator, right? So he called that force God. And in that book, he had these conversations. And it just blew my mind, because if you put it in the context of me being a 17-year-old teenager back in Turkey, I was in a country like Turkey, which definitely is, not very, especially at that time, open to these type of conversations, right? That really shook me. That really made me also question a lot of things. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? I can have a conversation with God? Like, really? Like, what do you mean? So, and after reading all of it, and questioning it, of course, the number one thing that I learned from it was that I can actually talk to my God. I can actually do it. Again, because you got to study. I'm just going to go back to studying. I value information. I value knowledge, not information. But I actually value refined knowledge. I value wisdom that becomes a little bit distinguished by who you are. You add your own experience into it, so you create your own wisdom out of what you learn. So that's what I am all after, and that's what I was able to learn from this book. And it really, really shook me at a very, very young age, and it made me question a lot of things. It might even be a big reason why I am here in the city of angels where I always wanted to be, where I always wanted to live.
Yes, I'll have to read those then. They sound incredible. The last one for you is, what's your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is, I have two. First one is from Tony Robbins, and it goes like this. It is in the moments of your decisions that you shape your destiny. Have you heard this?
Yes, I have.
Okay, perfect. And my other one is the one I created. Hello. Right? And it goes like this. When you're in the flow, you simply glow.
I love, and it goes along with your name and everything else. I love that.
Right. So that's why I created it. It, goes by the shiny one, right? And the reason why I love these two quotes, I'll begin with the first one. Tony Robbins, of course, is the biggest name in the guru in this personal development industry. And then he has a lot of wisdom, has a lot of experience, and he just boiled it down to this one simple quote, which is, it is in the moments of your decisions that you shape your destiny. And because I have the expertise of the mind, because I know how the mind works, I know the mechanics behind behaviors and communications and everything, I am able to reverse engineer the whole process of creating destiny, creating outcomes, creating results, creating success, creating a fulfillment, creating joy. So if you start with an end in the mind, I can reverse engineer and back it to the beginning, which is always going to be a decision. So everything is always going to begin with a decision. First it's first a decision. Like you having this podcast was first a decision. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Me going on and talking to you about your podcast, your questions, was a decision. People who are listening, they made a decision to listen. So everything starts with a decision. And if you master how you make your decisions, then you master the second step, which is your moods and your beliefs, and then your habits, and then your character, and then your destiny comes. So everything is correlated. And that's why if you master your decision, if you master your moods, which is being able to manage your emotions, and that's why I also teach emotional intelligence, I think that it is all in that little decision, in that little moment, because you have like the split second of something to go this way or that way. Even when you're driving, if you're going to refrain an accident, you don't have much time. It's like those like split seconds to make those decisions, and they are very, very fast. So I believe our job as human beings to master decision making. Because if you always find yourself making the best decision every single moment, you're going to have beautiful minutes. And if you are good and happy with minutes, you're going to have beautiful, happy hours. And if you have hours, you're going to have days, and then weeks, and then months, and then years, and a life. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I agree.
That's how it is going to go.
I'm big into Tony as well, so I'm with you on this too.
Yeah. And so the second one, my quote, when you're in the flow, you simply glow. Why is my favorite quote? Because I explain flow as the third stage in the consciousness. The first is, unfortunately, victim mentality. When you don't take responsibility of your own behaviors and actions, instead you put the blame on others, right?
Yeah.
So that is very low level of consciousness. So that's why it is victim mentality. The second one is what I call the personal responsibility. So in the personal responsibility stage of consciousness, we are all responsible. We take responsibility. We are powerful. We make decisions, and then we take the blame or whatever. So we are a lot more mature in the second stage. And the third stage, what I call the flow, that stage is even bigger than being responsible, because when you are too much responsible, which means that it comes with a lot of desire to control things, including the things that we are not supposed to control.
Yes.
Like other people, how they do things, and how they look at life, and so on and so forth. And it is really not healthy when it comes to interpersonal relationships. So that's why the third stage I call the flow. That is accepting your own responsibility and acting with control when it comes to something that is within your control, and letting go and going with the flow when it is not about your responsibility, when it is not really about you and yourself, but it is about other people. So you cannot change them. You cannot make decisions for them. You cannot, set goals for them. You don't want to try to change them. That happens, a lot of people come to me with that. How can I change someone? No, you can't. You change yourself. For others, you just accept them, optimize your relationship, and stay in the flow. So that's what flow means. And so when you are in the state of consciousness, you glow because you are in the quantum field of acceptance, which means that person can be either wave or particle. I'm going into a little bit terminology here, but you are just letting that person to be whatever they want to be. You're just okay. You're accepting it, and it doesn't make you or break you because it is not about you. You're able to rise above whatever your victim mentality or personal responsibility consciousness dictates. You're able to just rise above all of them because you have that level of consciousness, and that is flow that makes you glow. Is that good?
Yes. Incredible. Okay. And my last question for you, and thank you for sharing all of this knowledge and wisdom with us, is where can people connect with you online and find you online?
My best website, theshinyone.com. Shiner, right? So the best way is theshinyone.com. They can also find me on Instagram, Facebook. If they want to just type in The Shiny One, I go with The Shiny One. And then I'll explain why I go with The Shiny One, because, I also get that question sometimes. Because, again, I talk a lot about existential reasonings, knowing yourself, know what you are and who you are and what's your purpose, why are you here, right? It's really deep. I deal with the deep stuff. And when it is this type of depth, it really gives me a big, big mission. So I am on a mission to make the minds and the hearts and the souls shine brighter with this wisdom, with this amazing, incredible power that the human mind has. And that's why the shiny one is something that we all need and that we all want. The shine of the brightness of and the light of wisdom that we carry. And that's why I go with the shiny one. I know you're just asking about my online presence and I'm explaining way too much. I just believe in explanations.
No, thank you. This was you elaborate. You don't just say it, you elaborate on it. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing everything with us.
My pleasure, Tyler.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for doing this show. I know you're doing a great job. I know by sharing these moments with your listeners, you are already making them shine. They already have so much, to go apply after listening to your podcast. So I want to congratulate you for doing what you're doing. It's incredible. I love it.
Thank you. We will talk with you soon.
Yes, likewise. Keep shining.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.